Hi there, everyone. This is Erica Olson, your host, and this is Chicago behind me. I have not done a video podcast before, so just wanted to say hello and kind of reintroduce myself. Anyway, right now we are in a period where round one MBA applicants might be finalizing plans for where they plan to go to business school. Round two applicants might have just heard back or are, maybe still waiting to hear back. Others in round three or those who have been waitlisted might still have the summer months to contemplate their futures. But that's why, in general, this week and next week's episodes are for those who plan to attend business school one way or the other in the fall. Why two episodes? Because believe it or not, even though it seems like you did have months and months of hard work pulling together all your applications and interviewing and all that good stuff, there's still a lot to think about before you actually start your MBA program in the fall. So much that I had to cover it across two episodes. So, as a reminder, quickly before we get going, if you received any scholarship money or are hoping to negotiate to receive more merit aid, we cover that scenario in episode 281. And then if you're in the enviable position of having been accepted to more than one program and you're still trying to decide, where to go, we actually cover that scenario in 282, episode 282. So today, next week, we're going to be focusing on those who know where they want to go. And, again, it might seem like everything you need to do between now and the fall is obvious, and I am going to cover some of the obvious stuff, but there's actually a lot of things I think that future MBA students fail to thoroughly think through, or really maybe more, it's just take advantage of in the months between, your acceptance and matriculation. So I'm hoping I give you some recommendations you maybe haven't thought of yet. This week, I'm going to be talking about the six things that are kind of to-dos related to your current network and maybe future network at school or other important things to consider, before you leave your job. Next week is going to be more about like program related logistics of moving, financial aid, budgets, all that kind of stuff. So first things first, the number one thing you need to do before you head to campus is, of course, share your great news on where you're going with everybody that helped you along this journey. So number one, your recommenders, big time. I mean, give them a gift card, take them to dinner, do whatever you can, a small token of appreciation, handwritten letter. Don't underestimate their role in all of this. Like it really, really does often come down to just somebody that wrote a glowing letter and just heaped on the praise and gave lots of hefty, meaty examples that might have like tipped you over the edge versus somebody else that had a similar background. So do something for your recommenders and then also thank the rest of your support system. I mean, you probably had other people reading your essays, spell checking stuff, just like sanity checks along the way, people who listen to you stress out, who maybe went with you or met with you after the GMAT or GRE, just reach out to those people, thank them, and even better, do something for them, like when they need it. And then there might be other people who weren't maybe directly involved, but they were just coworkers or mentors throughout your career that helped you build, the accomplishments that got you into business school. So reach out to them. It's just a great time to kind of like reconnect with your network before you might go a little bit dark for the next 2 years, 18 months or whatever. So that leads to number two, which is on your number two on your to-do list is wrapping up your current job. And that kind of is everything from figuring out how you're going to tell your current employer to making sure you've thought through some other important related job decisions. As far as informing your employer, if your team knew you were planning the MBA, obviously that's one scenario. If nobody knows, then that's another scenario. But the main thing is either way, you want to be gracious, you want to be professional, you do not want to burn bridges. The best way to handle the situation is the same way to handle any situation that where you have to deliver news that might be a little bit bittersweet. Put yourself in their shoes, okay? And before you say anything and think through the kinds of things that they'll be concerned about. A big one when you're the one leaving is when you're leaving, right? Again, be professional, give them at least 2 weeks notice. Think through if there's anybody at the firm that could take on some of your projects or accounts or work, or if you could refer, make a recommendation for someone to fill your role, inside or outside of your group. Keeping your professional network strong and kind of staying in those colleagues like good graces going forward is really, really important. And if you're sitting there being like, I hate my job, or I totally want to switch industries, or I never want to see these people's faces again, like I get it. I get it. Um, but you got to take it from somebody whose career took more twists and turns than I could have ever imagined. Like, I ended up working with the same people from my first job, like decades later, in a completely different capacity. So, just again, keep things professional and positive. On a more administrative note, like you're going to want to understand some of the kind of boring but very, very important stuff like policies, right? When it comes to giving notice. So don't let this be something you think about after you've already given notice. So you want to know beforehand things like, how does your company pay out unused vacation time or sick time? What does your contract say about resigning? Are you able to leave at any time? Are you contractually obligated to finish through maybe a quarter or something? Are you owed a commission, a bonus? Like if you're in sales position, how do incentives work? Structure that final date so that you're ensuring yourself that you're paid the proper amount. When do your health benefits expire? You're probably losing your insurance when you leave your job. So if you move to school, you kind of have to find a new doctor anyway. But doing what you can now to ensure that you not only have coverage, but that you have all your health information in order, and then ask a doctor to like give you a download of files to take with you or something. And again, just kind of like a word of caution. If you're like, I'm healthy and 26 and I don't need health insurance for the next few months before school starts, I don't want to be a downer, but I will share a story from my own life about one of my healthy, active 27-year-old relatives who thought just exactly that. And then went into the ER with a very bad cough and was diagnosed with stage 4 lymphoma. Okay, so without health insurance, 2 weeks before he was to start grad school. The good news is he's fine and been cancer free, for decades now. But the bad news is that he really put his family like kind of through the ringer during all that, to try and figure out his care during that time. So don't let that be you. Okay, so wrapping up number two, the main point I'm trying to make is just to not get so swept up in the excitement of your admissions offer that you forget how to protect yourself from the insurance and like legal standpoint. And also that you leave on as good as terms as possible. Okay, so that leads now to number three, third thing on your to-do list. This is real quick. Make sure you have all your contacts. I know this seems like duh, but again, horrible feeling to be like leaving, after your last day of work and like getting home and then being like, oh my God, like everything that I had is on my company's system or whatever. So just again, you want to keep your network strong. You want to keep them up to date on your plans. You want to stay in touch. Even if you don't intend to return to your company or industry, remember that a huge part of the MBA experience is helping your classmates. So you might have contacts that they need. So just, make sure that you have that virtual Rolodex. Okay. Fourth, let's talk about the thing that freaks everybody out, the background check. Okay, so while we're talking about your current employer, um, I've just never worked with anybody that wasn't a little bit freaked out about this, but um, even if they didn't have any reason to worry about it. And I think it's because just like nobody knows what happens with it. It's just like a black box of a process. You can kind of count on the fact that your school will do some sort of background check, okay? But often you'll kind of never even really know about it. It's like a good news, like no news is good news type of thing. So you might not ever know when it happened, if it happened, or if it concluded, but that's all good. You're never going to get some sort of thing that said like you passed, is what I'm trying to tell you. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be prepared maybe to get a call, usually from some sort of third party company that's running the process for the school. All they're trying to do, all the background check is making sure that what you said in your application happened, right? Like if you said you went to Yale undergrad, they are going to make sure that you did. They're going to try and confirm some sort of like virtual paper trail, really, of everything in your application, employment history, letters of recommendation, like those people were at the places. I mean, I'm just naming off stuff. I don't want to even say specifics because I don't want people to get fixated on anything, but it's just I I always say don't like proactively reach out to a background check company to try and like head off something you think or that you're worried about. I think that would come off as suspicious. And I feel like if the small startup you worked at, for example, went out of business last year and you might need to end up giving the background check company like a contact or whatever, just wait for them to come to you. Okay. That they've seen everything. So is what I'm saying is like, don't worry. It's not going to derail your candidacy or your admittance. Uh, I don't think that everybody in that like scenario I just said will get contacted. I'm just saying, be ready. If you work at a large company that has an HR department or had an internship at such a firm, those people handle this all the time. They might be just trying to confirm your salary or something. If you didn't remember your salary and you're like, "Oh my God, I actually made $2,000 more than I said." Again, that is not what they're looking for. They're looking for like purposeful deceit, right? They're looking for like, did you lie? Okay, so do not worry about things that could be innocent mistakes. All right, number five, and hopefully I've put your mind more at ease about the background check. So everything we've talked about so far has been connected to your pre-MBA life, thanking those who've helped you on the journey, wrapping up at work, being prepared for the background check. Now our advice is to start looking forward. Um, I said, make sure you have your contacts in order to reach out with your network, but you also need to start building your network at school. This is the fun stuff, right? So start getting to know your new classmates. Back in the day when I went, it was like message boards and stuff that probably doesn't even exist anymore, but there's got to be some sort of like social media group or like private group or virtual meetups or we had in-person meetups, by city. It's a really great feeling to already know some people when you arrive on campus. And I say this from experience and I say this as like an introvert, perhaps an extroverted introvert, but still. It really, really just helped calm my nerves about moving halfway across the country and starting on this big new, journey. So, especially if you're attending a program with like a large number of students, it just really you might not end up getting to know some of those people otherwise. Like if they're not in your section or you're never in any of your classes, like there are some people that I met kind of through the pre-matriculation process that I never really interacted with again at school, or like I guess I should say would have come across them, like would have met them, but like I stayed in contact with them because of the preschool stuff. So definitely do that. You might meet the person that's going to become your business partner or a lifelong friend or a possible roommate or something. So, don't miss out on any of those types of opportunities. And now on to the last to do that we'll cover today. That's just to encourage you to to go to your admit weekend if you can. I always get a little bit weird about advising this or recommending this just because I know it's like financially out of the question for a lot of people, or it's just like logistically or administratively, like you can't travel, you can't do it. That's fine. Like it's not you're going to be fine. Okay. I'm just saying if you can do it, if you can swing it, do it. Because I am a huge fan of admit weekends. I had a really great time at mine. Again, it put my mind at ease about a lot of things. I met a lot of people that I stayed friends with to this day. It tamed my nerves. And I've never had an applicant that I've worked with who went to their admit weekend and kind of like regretted it, right? So, I mean, you're going to like it. I think it's important to walk around the area that you'll be spending so much time in over the next few years, meet the people who will be on the journey with you, maybe meet some professors, start to get an idea of what the experience is going to be about. I think that admit weekends, oops, there's some sirens from Chicago there. I think admit weekends really get you in like that MBA mindset, to just kind of prove what or provide a hint of like what it'll be like when you get to live in that glorious MBA bubble for the next 2 years. Oh, how I miss that bubble. So, for those of you who might be coming to campus with a partner or kids or something, this is a great time to find other people who might be in your same kind of life stage or situation. Start talking about, getting some babysitters or, that sort of thing. It's just really important, I think, to have that kind of support system in the program and to set it up as quickly as you can. You can also start checking out like campus housing, off-campus housing, nearby neighborhoods, figure out where you're going to be living. We're going to cover a little bit more of that sort of thing in part 2 next week. So those are the 6 tips, first 6 of 12 of things that you should be doing now that you have made the decision to return to school. We'll cover more next week. I also wanted to ask, since you are kind of perhaps on your way out of listening to Be Schooled and your time with me and our other hosts, is that if you found it helpful, like please, leave us a rating, leave us a comment, but also tell other people that you know are going to be applying. Like I believe in good MBA karma. So if you found this podcast helpful, then tell other people so that maybe they can, glean some insights when they begin their MBA journey that you are so luckily just starting now the fun part of, right? So even though your MBA journey with us is coming to a close, I of course have an inspirational quote for you to end this episode. This one is from adventurer and Virgin Group co-founder Richard Branson. He said something that I think is really important to keep in mind when you're kind of in the midst of your MBA experience, because it can get intense. He said, fun is one of the most important and underrated ingredients in any successful venture. I wish you fun on your MBA journey. Bye.